Hi friends, welcome back to Unveiling Buddhism episode 54. Today we're exploring something deeply practical, right livelihood. Many people think that job has nothing to do with nirvana or ultimate happiness, but that's a misunderstanding. The Buddha taught the Noble Eightfold Path as a roadmap to liberation, and among those 8 practices is something we all deal with every day: how we earn a living. This teaching is important because before we can meditate or chant sutras, we must first take care of life's basics. Practicing Buddhism doesn't mean ignoring our financial or survival responsibilities, but it also means we must not ignore how we earn our living. You might think, well, I'm not a thief or a criminal, I'm probably fine. Not so fast. Right livelihood matters deeply because we spend most of our waking hours working. What we repeat daily through our thoughts, speech, and actions shapes our habits, character, and karma. This dominant karma impacts our mental and spiritual state, and it influences our future rebirths. So here's the essential question: are we earning a living with right intention? That means asking ourselves, are we avoiding craving and ill will in our work? Are we avoiding harm to ourselves and to others? Right livelihood isn't just about making money. It's about how our job affects our minds and whether it supports our journey toward true happiness, nirvana, or pulls us further away from it. So what is the right livelihood exactly? The Buddha didn't hand out a rigid list of all the right or wrong jobs. Instead, he gave practical advice tailored to context and intention. The essence is this: earn a living without cultivating craving, ill will, or harm towards self or others. For monastics, the standards are even higher. The Buddha advised them to avoid lowly arts such as fortune-telling, geomancy, trade, folk rituals, and many other lowly practices to attract alms. Why? Because these practices don't encourage wisdom. They fuel fear and dependence rather than understanding and wisdom. You might say, well, I work in an office. None of that applies to me. But it does. The Buddha also warned against more subtle forms of wrong livelihood. He said, and what is wrong livelihood? Scheming, persuading, hinting, belittling, and pursuing gain with gain. Let's see what that looks like today. Maya is a UX designer for a social media platform. Her job is to increase user engagement by collecting data and manipulating behavior, including among children. It's legal, but it promotes craving on a massive scale. That's not right livelihood. Ethan works in a cutthroat firm. To get promoted, he withholds information, undermines co-workers, and takes credit for others' work. He's scheming and cultivating ill will. That's also wrong livelihood. Linda runs a successful online business. To boost profits, she underpaid staffs, demands unpaid overtime, and penalizes sick leave. She says, that's just business. But that's exploitation, and it is harmful. The message is clear. If we want peace, clarity, and happiness, we can build our lives on craving, hostility, or harm. Right livelihood is about aligning your work with the path to freedom.
But if right livelihood means avoiding all harm, how can anyone follow it in the modern world? For example, modern medicine often uses animal testing. Farming feeds millions, but kills insects with pesticides. Isn't that impossible to avoid?
Love your question. If right livelihood demanded perfect non-harming, it would seem impossible. But the Buddha didn't expect perfection in an imperfect world. He taught the middle path, a life guided by wisdom and compassion, avoiding both extreme denial and reckless indulgence. Even in ancient times, farmers unintentionally harmed insects while plowing. The Buddha understood this. That's why, instead of demanding impossible purity, he gave practical guidance to minimize harm and cultivate ethical awareness. For lay people, he listed 5 types of work to avoid because they generate strong negative karma. Dealing with weapons, exploiting human beings such as slavery, trafficking, Recently, the operation of scam centers through kidnaps, slaughtering animals for profit, selling intoxicants and harmful drugs, selling poisons. These are not gray areas. They clearly involve harm, craving, or delusion. Therefore, right livelihood doesn't mean absolute harmlessness. It means conscious, compassionate choices in how we work. When harm seems inevitable, ask, can I act with less harm, with more kindness? Can I make this work more ethical, even in small ways? Right livelihood is not about guilt and sin. It's about alignment with your values and with the path to peace.
If everyone only did pure jobs, wouldn't society collapse? We still need soldiers, butchers, bartenders, right?
That's a real-world concern. And yes, society has roles built on demand, tradition, and history. But the Buddha's focus was personal transformation, not forcing global reform. He asks us, what kind of mind are you shaping through your work? Social change begins with individuals choosing compassion over convenience. It starts with our earnest effort to pursue real ultimate happiness and aligning our life to this goal.
Isn't it unrealistic to talk about ethics when people are just trying to survive?
Absolutely. Survival is real, and ethics should not be used to judge or shame people. But even in hardship, we can still ask, can I avoid hurting others just to get by? Can I stay honest even when it's tough? Right livelihood is about doing our best within our conditions, not being perfect. Small choices, repeated with care, build a life of integrity.
If my company does unethical things, but I'm just playing a small part, does that still count?
This is a common dilemma. What if you are a cog in a machine, working for a corporation whose practices you don't fully support? The Buddha's teaching encourages self-reflection over blame. The question becomes, am I directly supporting harm? Am I contributing to deception, exploitation, or manipulation? If so, consider whether you can shift your role, speak up, or gradually transition to something more aligned. If not, you're trying to do good from within. That's a start. Right livelihood isn't just about the job title. It's about your intention, awareness, and willingness to reduce harm where you can. Right livelihood isn't a checklist. It's a compass. It points us toward a life built on compassion, clarity, and peace. Not just for ourselves, but for everyone our work touches. Thanks for joining us on Unveiling Buddhism. Until next time, work with wisdom and live with heart.